feel like the lighting looks very like dark and ominous for this video, which was not planned, but it just rained, so whatever. Anyway, kind of works with the theme today though, so let's roll. This is part 2 of my first video. If you haven't seen my first video, I do kind of recommend that you watch it. You don't necessarily need to watch it. They're about different aspects of being the bad guy, for survivors specifically. Part 1 was about being afraid of actually standing up for yourself and advocating for yourself. It's about the fear of what you might lose if you attempt to step outside of your comfort zone and experience people disagreeing with you or not liking you from the standpoint of just like advocating for yourself. However, today what I want to talk about is a different aspect to this, which is where you actually have been the bad guy. Video 1 is about your fear of being perceived as the bad guy when you aren't really being the bad guy. Like I said in video 1, bad guys say no. Bad guys are complicated. Bad guys, kind of piss people off and are considered the bitch of sorts. Because again, if people are calling you that, they probably don't care about you very much. This video is about the actual bad guy habits of survivors. And we have bad guy habits. And the thing is, you know that. You know that because I think one very common theme that I've noticed between myself and my other friends who are survivors is that this is something we actually worry about. We almost obsess over. When I'm even talking about this right now, some part of you, either consciously or subconsciously, is almost sweating a little bit in nervousness, in fear of what might be exposed, what might be seen, what might be found out. And there's several reasons for this. First of all, the first reason, and the most obvious one, is because you're a person. You're not perfect. No one's perfect. And I think survivors of severe abuse are oftentimes put on pedestals, which can make all of this even more complicated. Add to the fact even deeper than that, that society, I think especially nowadays, tends to think in black and white, and they don't really know in general what to do with muddy, complicated situations, which is literally what abuse is. Abuse is not something black and white. There's no perfect victim and there's no perfect abuser. There's no one who's all good and there's no one who's literally all bad. If they were all bad, we never would have fallen in love with them in the first place. And I really do think one of the things that is hard for us and almost tortures us the most when we get out of these situations is the good memories. No one wants to process the good memories with us. No one wants to hear about the good memories. I know I even struggle with how much to remember the good memories because they can cause me to crave, and that eventually can cause me to relapse on the person. It's a whole thing. I digress. But the point is that there's no one who's all good and there's no one who's all bad. And you are not all good, my friend, and you know that. You know that, but the thing is that because you have been placed on pedestals, if you relate to this video, if this is resonating with you, then I would feel safe to guess, from my own experiences and what I'm guessing you maybe have been through yourself as well, you've been placed on pedestals within your abusive relationships, and you've been placed on pedestals by other people when you've gotten out of them. Society has placed you on a pedestal. People have placed you on a pedestal of the all good victim. And the problem that really creates is that you leave one situation where when you were placed on a pedestal and the person found out that you weren't all perfect, you were discarded. You were devalued and discarded. And now you're being placed on a pedestal again. And this video is not about blaming everyone else. This video is about really addressing the bad guy parts of ourselves. And what do I mean by bad guy parts? For me, speaking from my own experience and just using myself once again as the example, I'm an addict. I'm an addict of actual substances and alcohol, but I'm also an addict of abuse. I'm addicted to abuse. I'm addicted to a certain type of person and a certain type of situation that involves extreme highs and extreme lows and chaos and adrenaline and stimulation. And that causes me to have addict behavior that causes me to be a manipulator, a liar, a secretive person. I've lied to my friends and my family when I'm in the middle of relapsing on something. I've lied to my partners for many different reasons as well. So just from that standpoint, I have bad guy behavior because I'm literally an addict. Another way people can have bad guy behavior is, I know it's very common in domestic violence situations where the other person also hits back. My friend who was involved in a severely physically abusive relationship also has police reports written on her because she also started to hit. She also started to fight. She also started to attack. You know, we pick up a lot of their habits. And I think that's also why we are so afraid of people knowing about our bad guy habits, is because, again, it's not clear cut, and there is the fear that once people find out that we're not this all perfect victim and this all perfect person, that people will wonder, did they deserve it? Did they ask for it? You know what I mean? Is it their fault? And those aren't questions that we always have the answer to. And I don't think those are questions that we should have the answer to, because that's for us to figure out on our own, processing our situation. But I understand how we feel obligated to have those answers for people. And even deeper than that, the question of who are you? You know, as a victim, who are you? As a survivor, who are you? Like, what type of survivor are you? What type of person are you? There's a lot of questions that come into play when you're trying to tell your story and explain the things that you come from, and that can be very uncomfortable. I think people start to question the value of us and almost like the moral value of us as people when abuse starts getting discussed. You have something to prove now to people. The way that we take power back for ourselves, and the way that I want everyone watching this video to understand that we have to have accountability too, is that it's very important to understand how you replicate your own patterns of abuse that you've experienced on yourself and with yourself. And one of the ways that we replicate the cycles of abuse is we put ourselves within a pedestal role. We hide within the pedestal role because it's comfortable. It's comfortable to get used to people worshiping you. It's comfortable getting used to people never questioning you. I mean, I'm calling a spade, as I try to do so often on this channel. It can become a literal addiction when people are not actually holding you to any kind of standard, and they're essentially just rolling out the red carpet and saying, I'm going to give you all this sympathy, all this time, all of this attention, all of these gifts. There's a whole video I made on my channel about how we worship survivors, which is not healthy. But because this pedestal role can be addictive, and because it's also something that's familiar and therefore comfortable, we also put ourselves and hide ourselves within the pedestal role. And that's why, just like the title of this video states, this really creates a type of spiritual sickness within a person, because now you are locked within a role that is impossible for you to ever fulfill. Because guess what? You are not perfect. And you have flaws. And not only that, but you have, on whatever level, some serious dysfunction going on. You have your own sicknesses that you need medicine and remedies for. You need help. You need help. And you don't know how to ask for that help because you are so afraid of people seeing the actual dysfunction going on inside of you that you would just hide it instead. And that keeps you sick. That keeps you spiritually sick in a way that is so deep. If you are so afraid of someone ever calling you the bad guy, if you are so afraid, you know what your bad guy habits are. You know what they are. They're for you to know, and they're for you to find who is safe enough to confess to. And I've talked about that on this channel before, how confession of the soul is a necessary medicine for all of us. And this video today is listing one of the reasons why. One reason why confession of the soul is so necessary is literally because you have to be able to talk about your bad guy habits with someone. For anyone who's in therapy, how are you actually going to be able to do therapy in an effective way if you're never willing to talk about your bad guy habits with even your therapist? That's the whole point of what therapy is for. It's to help you. It's not to walk away having your therapist like you as a person. It's to actually grow and to change and to improve yourself. So it finally stopped raining and the sun came out a little bit. So I'm going to try and finish this video before the sun actually literally goes down, now that there's some more light. But this is the problem. The problem is that abuse is not black and white. And the problem is that you do have bad guy habits. And the problem is that you have been placed on too many pedestals, either by other people or yourself, to hide within, and it's made you sick. And this is the sickness that I think tortures a lot of survivors, is the idea that if you are not this perfect survivor, you will be discarded, you will be devalued, and you don't have worth. And I think part of the reason that we struggle with that is because through abuse and the way that we allowed ourselves to be broken down within these relationships and the ways we also broke ourselves down, we now don't even know what the good pieces of ourselves are, the truly good pieces. This was something I really wanted to place a heavy emphasis on in this video. You have been resting in false goodness. False goodness. What is false goodness? False goodness is the idea of people finding you good and people enjoying you and loving you because of your mask, not because of who you truly are. And who we truly are in general as people, but also, once again, just talking about us specifically as survivors today, is we are flawed people who have trauma, who have dysfunction, who have serious issues going on, sometimes involving anger, sometimes involving the inability to regulate ourselves. You know, we have shit. And I'm not even talking about how other people make us feel about that. I'm talking about how we make ourselves feel about that and what we do with that internally, where we hide from it. And we don't give people the opportunity to see it and to prove us wrong about what we assume will happen if they see it. So instead, again, like I've been talking about hiding within this pedestal role, that is false goodness. That is artificial goodness. You're resting within a mask and you're assuming that people only like you and care about you with the mask version of yourself, the perfect victim version of yourself. And so you can't find comfort in that. There is no comfort in that. There is no peace of mind in that, because that is a facade. And that's why when you see titles of videos like this one and the first one that I made, your ass sweats. That's why. That's why, because you have not learned how to rest in the true goodness of yourself, because you have good parts. You have good parts, you have good pieces, you have good qualities, but you have not taken the time to learn on your own, not from someone else giving you value, but from you giving yourself value. You have not taken the time to learn on your own what your truly good, valuable pieces of yourself are. And so because you're not familiar with the good parts of yourself that could give you self-esteem, on your own, you have not cultivated that sense of self-esteem from connecting with those truly rich, good parts of yourself. Since you're disconnected from those parts and you're only resting in false goodness, this feels like a rug just waiting to be ripped out from under you. And doesn't that make sense? Doesn't that make sense? You're just waiting for someone to find the bad parts. And the thing is, like, the other reason why it's really important to familiarize yourself and have actual confession with safe people about your bad guy parts is because half the time they're super common. And I don't want to minimize them and say like they're not bad. You know what your bad guy habits and issues and dysfunctions are. You know what they are. But I'm just saying, like, when we keep them in a closet and when we keep them hidden, two things happen. One, we almost over demonize things that actually might not be that big of a deal to either the people around us that we love or the therapist that we're talking to, whoever it is. It might not, you don't know until you tell someone. It might not even be that big of a deal. I can't speak for them. No one can speak for them. But you would be shocked how many people are like, oh, I actually struggle with that too. Oh, I actually relate to that. Oh, I don't really care that you struggle with that. Like, that's not shocking to me. That's not gonna like rock my world and make me not want to be your friend. You'd be surprised how many people have that reaction. So because we're not talking to people about it, the first thing that happens is things get over demonized that actually should not be over demonized. And I think the other thing that we are robbed of the opportunity of is to learn how many people are just like us. So yes, these things are bad guy habits. Yes, these things are things that we should be working to improve on, but guess what? You're not alone. You're not, and this is something my best friend and I say to each other almost to like weirdly cheer each other up, but like, you're not special. You're not special. And there's a comfort in that, because if I don't want to be special, to be honest, because I want to know that there's other people out there struggling with the same things that I do. And when I don't open up about that stuff and share that stuff and get to know what that stuff is, first of all, I'm not familiar with it, so I don't even have a relationship with it to have my own opinion about it. And also I miss out on the opportunity to connect with others around me who might also have similar struggles. So while we are resting in false goodness, at the same exact time, we are also somehow subconsciously or consciously convincing ourselves that we're all alone and there's no one as bad as us either. It's just us. We are the worst. And that's another reason why your ass sweats when you see titles of videos like this. Because the thing is, like, for me, now that I have done confession like 1,000 times over through AA, through therapy, with my trusted people, now that I've gotten some medicine on the things that needed to be seen, that needed to be witnessed, that needed to be spoken to by someone other than like the abusive schmucks that I was with, now that I've had enough of that, like, I'm so grounded in myself, partially because I know what my bad guy habits are and I'm connected enough to them and familiar enough with them and getting medicine on them enough that it's not that they go away, but it's I know what I'm doing about that. I've looked at that. I'm sitting with that. I'm familiar with that. So if you want to have an opinion about that, as a trusted friend, like, let's dialogue, let's talk about it. But if you're a stranger, you're not going to tell me how to feel about that thing because I've already spent time with that thing. I'm already familiar with that thing. I know what I'm doing with that thing. You're also not going to be able to convince me after I spend time with it and I'm familiar with it and I'm getting medicine on it. You're not going to be able to convince me that I'm the worst piece of crap that ever walked the earth and I am like literally worse than everyone else around me. Because I've met people and I know that there are people like me out there, so I can't be the worst piece of crap because there's other people just like me. Also, I'm not minimizing it. I'm not saying that it's not shitty. I'm not saying that it's not something that needs to be worked on. I'm not saying it's not something that hasn't hurt other people, but I can acknowledge that it's a really crappy thing. But also, like, I'm not literally scum of the earth because of it either. You see what I'm saying? There's power in that. It is exhausting trying to pretend to be something that you're not. It is exhausting trying to act like you have it all together when you don't. It is exhausting never letting yourself fall apart. And part of falling apart is being a mess. Part of falling apart is pissing people off. Part of falling apart is making mistakes. Part of falling apart is having dysfunction and messing up in the dysfunction so you can learn how to do it better next time. Part of falling apart is how actual real intimacy is cultivated in relationships because you're allowing yourself to fall apart but still holding yourself accountable to grow and become better with the people that you care about. That's intimacy. That's real intimacy. It's not just dumping our crap on people and not caring. It's not that either. But it's not keeping people at a distance with this mask. I give you permission on this channel to have dysfunction. I give you permission on this channel to be flawed. I give you permission on this channel to not be perfect. I give you permission on this channel to be seriously fucked up. I give you permission on this channel to have walked away from your situations as somewhat the bad guy. I give you permission on this channel to be able to look at yourself and know that whatever you find internally inside, as long as you're willing to work on it, as long as you're willing to try to improve, you are 10 steps ahead of so many other people out there. I promise you. I give you permission on this channel to be someone who has survived some serious shit. And you see it and you recognize it and it's okay that you didn't walk away without scars. And I'm not over romanticizing this shit. I'm not sitting here today trying to find a way for us to really think that we're allowed to have dysfunction and other people aren't. That's the other thing, the last thing I wanted to touch on in this video is part, I think, also of why your ass sweats when you see videos like this is because aren't we all out there right now crucifying people who have dysfunction similar to ours? Honestly, let's be real. Like when we look at some of the cluster B personality disorders and the things that they struggle with, are we not letting those people get crucified when some of them are genuinely actually trying to work on themselves and have also come from some serious shit? So we are watching people get mercilessly crucified without any sympathy or empathy. And I understand why people feel like they need to do that instead, because the last time they had sympathy and empathy, they got burned. But that's where you need to learn to have better boundaries, because it's not all one or all the other. It's not literally almost having like codependent empathy or bitter hatred where you're crucifying the crap out of people. There's a gray area. And the gray area is also what I'm applying to us today as well. And I want you to think about something and really ask yourself this. When is the last time you sincerely apologize. And I'm not talking about to your partner. I'm talking about to friends and family. And even deeper than that, strangers. When is the last time you sincerely apologized to someone? And I'm not talking about, again, just to flesh this out really quick, I'm not talking about when you compulsively say I'm sorry and you don't even know what you're saying I'm sorry for, and you're saying I'm sorry actually to soothe yourself, not even because like you're really sitting in something that you did and there was a really big problem that happened and like you really thought about it and there was like a sincere apology and conversation that happened. That's a very different thing than just like compulsively saying I'm sorry all the time, almost to soothe yourself. So I want you to really ask yourself, like sit there and examine and ask yourself, when is the last time you sincerely apologized to a friend, to a family member, or to a stranger about something that you really did wrong? And I think this is really important because this plays into our recovery. You have bad guy habits. And what are you doing about those habits? Because they're coming out. They're coming out whether you realize it or not. They're seeping out and leaking out in whatever kind of way throughout whatever tics, mannerisms, pop-offs, whatever's happening, like they're finding a way to show themselves. Because again, no one has the ability to exist as a perfect person throughout the day, and we have dysfunction. So when your dysfunction is leaking out, how are you handling that? Because the last thing that I really wanted to emphasize in this video is that we have spent, oftentimes as survivors, we have spent so much time giving the wrong people apologies and giving the wrong people our open, fully honest heart. And by the wrong people, I'm talking about the people we were addicted to. Those people we're apologizing to all the time. Those people were being very intentional about making sure that they're happy and walking on eggshells for them and whatever else it is that we do with rolling out the red carpet for them. With those people, we also overshared and were 110% honest about the wrong things with them, the things that help them manipulate us. That the type of honesty that I think is owed to our friends and our family, that level of honesty is owed to our friends and our family. And I just want you to really think, when is the last time I actually gave that kind of red carpet behavior to my friends and family and the people? I'm talking about the people who have really been there for you. I'm not talking about people who also treat you like crap, okay? Just to clarify, because obviously we can have family members that are just another version of this. So I'm talking about like for the people who have really been there for you when you have gotten out of these situations, your ride or dies or whatever you want to call them, your trusted people. When is the last time that you have given them sincere apologies? When is the last time you had that sort of confession with them that you had with your partner who abused you or whoever it was that abused you? Like, we've spent so much time giving like this golden level of behavior to the wrong people. And there are people in our lives who I think are very much wanting to have these deeper connections with us, wanting to have like this true intimacy, this true honest intimacy, and they actually would be safe to do it with. And when is the last time like you opened up to them and maybe even gave them an apology for any of your bad guy behavior that's coming out? If it's been recently, that's good. But if you can't really remember the last time that you actually realized you had been sincerely wrong about something and did something about it to make it better, didn't just sweep it under the rug, if you can't remember the last time that you tried to make it better after you had bad guy habits, that's a problem. And that's another issue that comes with sweeping it under the rug and hiding within this pedestal role. It's time for us to grow. And I really challenge you guys to look at this stuff, because especially as you start to heal, as you start to grow a sense of self, as you start to learn what actually is truly good and valuable about yourself, you also, I would hope at the same time, grow the courage and the confidence and the backbone to be able to look at the bad stuff too, because that has to come with it. It's not just about learning to love all the great parts that you can have a party for yourself and not examine any of the dysfunction that absolutely came with you. All of the similarities that we started to have to them by the end of that long-term relationship. So, as always, I hope this video was helpful. I would like to say that I hope it didn't feel like I kicked your ass too much, but I actually kind of hope it did. Feel free to leave a comment down below if you have any thoughts. I always read them. And thanks for always watching. And God bless.